One foot at a time. You're going to bend a knee or one knee at a time. So you did double knee. Now you're just doing singles, seeing if there's anything different going on in one leg versus the other or hip. And then pause again and stack up on top of your spine here. Couple of shoulder rolls here at the top. If your head's easily to bring back in that chin nod over shoulders. And then we're gonna roll down one more time and reach through the shoulder blades. If you're doing that osteoporosis variation, I'm gonna have you switch legs if you haven't already. Good. All right, so from our standing position, I always like to start with our chin nods. I had a bit of a migraine this morning and last night, and so I apologize if my words come a little slower today or I crisscross them, put them in the wrong order. So in your chin nod here, my goal is for you to lengthen the back of your neck and grow taller, like someone's pulling your pretend bun like I have up towards the ceiling. So it's not the tip top of our head, but more the back of our neck that gets stretched out. And maybe you'll feel that all the way between the shoulder blades. Then holding your chin nod here, rotating your upper arm bone in the rotator cuff, your shoulder socket there. Good. As my palms turn out to the sides of the room, that's called external rotation. You want to see if you can feel some stretch in the top of your pecs up into the collarbones, reaching your fingers towards the floor, and then maybe some work in the shoulder girdle there. Okay, and then pause. Let's squeeze the shoulder blades together here, get all those really great muscles firing up. Those muscles you feel in the back of your shoulder blades or in your posterior chain, you want to think of using those as you lift your arms overhead. So go ahead and pause, make sure these front ribs are nice and knit together. Exactly, Reggie. Inhales up, exhales down. If your shoulders are tight, it's fine with me if you lift to say here. You don't have to come up, and ultimately you would want biceps to frame your ears, but it's not a have to. Hands can also go a bit wider here if that's more comfortable on your shoulders. Okay, and then pause up here. It's a good time to check in with neck tension and shrug the shoulders using those upper trapezius, and then try and lengthen and let them go as your shoulders and arms drop back down. Good. We'll go into our usual side bend. Hold it here, make it a reaching side bend, and then an inhale into this open side of your ribs. One more time. Yay, it's Sunday. Come through middle, slowly take it over to your other side, and it's a reaching side bend. Make sure you're not collapsed through here. A nice big inhale, and then repeat that. Good. And then we'll go through middle and change our breathing pattern here. So through middle, we inhale, exhale as you pulse and reach. Inhale, exhale, pulse and reach here. Good. Keeping it a little slower and more rhythmic today so you can feel that long stretch as you reach. One more set. Good. And then from here, I'm just going to roll the shoulders a couple times, check in with my neck once more, and then we'll go into some neck stretches. So let me set that up here. You can use this top hand to provide a little bit of traction, but you may not need it. If you provide that traction and this stretch is not substantial, you can press your head into your hand. Okay. And as we're holding this stretch, let's take some nice inhales into this side of our ribs, the same side you're stretching here. One more. Okay, and then there's some additional muscles we can stretch by taking our head on a diagonal line. So it's a bit of a chin dip, but also putting our head at a different diagonal here. Little tricky to cue you with the audio cues, but hopefully this is making sense. Okay, as you inhale, think of expanding into your upper ribs so it lengthens that side of your shoulder girdle into your neck. Good. And then slowly come through middle. Make sure not to overuse what we just stretched. And then we're going to take this to our other side. Taking it into more of a chin nod while you're doing the stretch, will deepen it for you. If you need that additional stretch, you can give yourself some traction with this hand. If you're not getting a substantial stretch and want to press into the hand, you certainly can. And for me, this is the hand I use the mouse with. So it's much tighter. It's kind of an interesting thing to know in your own body. Let's do one more big inhale here. And then taking the hands away and tucking the chin a bit more, changing that diagonal angle here, and it will change where the stretch is. Good. Let's do 2 more long breaths here. Okay, and then bring your head to middle here. All right, hands on top of shoulders. Gently take it in to your shoulder work here. So osteoporosis, your elbows will come forward and back, just a half circle. Non-osteoporosis, you'll add back flexion where you round the spine, pull the belly button in, a little bit of spinal extension back here. If you can go into the spinal extension, also lift your chin. You'll get some stretch in the front of your neck, your throat there. Make this a core exercise where you pull belly button to spine in both endpoints, even though you're inhaling and exhaling. Good. Okay, and then pause in your middle here. This is your neutral. Exhale, pulse twice. Inhale through middle. Exhale, pulse twice. Try and keep those hip bones pointed forward. Yes, I do this to get the stretch in all of our bodies, but even more to get those obliques activated. Wake them up from their slumber. Try and feel into that sash feeling across the front of your body here. Sundays are for connecting into these pieces. Good. And even out your right to left side, and then we'll move it on a bit. I just love footwork, so we're going to do some here, starting with inversion and eversion. I've gotten maybe a little complacent that you guys all understand these beat pieces, so definitely give me a reality check if you're like, you know what, I don't really understand XYZ, because you know me, I love to talk about the anatomy. All right, then we're going to do our 4 tires exercise. So press into first and second metatarsal, that deep toe joint, pinky toe outside of the heel, inside of the heel. If you're having a shaky day, no, you can hold on to something. You can also do 1 foot at a time. My goal when you do these is that you can have the coordination to shift your weight around your feet and the coordination to hold weight in different parts of your feet. Because guess what? When we stumble and walk around in the world, that's what keeps us from falling. Please reverse the directions of your circles and hesitate in each of the points. Can you hold your weight there, stand up straight and look ahead? That's the balance piece I'm looking for. All right, think of inhaling into your feet where you're sending some blood flow into them. We'll pause and take this into heel raise or calf raise. Use that core, use your exhales, you lift up. Inhales, you come down. Make 2 elevator stops as you lower. That's the control I'm looking for, the strength. A good benchmark for fit, not frail, is being able to do 25 of these, and then 20 on one leg, and then 20 on leg 2. So now those are all benchmarks you can play around with. Good. Okay, When the heels land, let's lift up the balls of the feet and then back to that calf raise. If this is a little too challenging balance-wise, I'm just gonna have you lift one ball of the foot at a time. Do pay attention to having your kneecaps face forward here. It might not be possible in all the different phases, but it's what you aim for. And then that probably made you look down at your knees and feet, look up again. So you check, look up. Good. All right, so from here, let's take it on down to the floor. I'm gonna have my roller nearby, but I wanna get our cores warmed up a little bit more before we do all of our stretching. My theory is that we get all the good stuff going and then stretch out maybe where there have been imbalances, and then you can carry forward through the rest of the day with all the good muscles working for you. I have my squishy ball. I'll put it between the knees to start. Stretch out the back of your neck and your chin nods here on the floor. Part of why I have you do these is to set up the interaction with your shoulders and your shoulder blades. So as you chin nod, notice any shifts in the rib cage, maybe that bird cage connection at the bottom front of your abs. And if you bring your collarbones forward, and you want to see if you can stabilize all those pieces, and just do your chin nods. If you're getting stronger and stronger, you'll add more pressure in the back of your head, occipital ridge, as you nod, and strengthen those deep cervical neck flexors. All right, hold on to your chin nod, somewhere easy to breathe, and stretch your arms down to your feet. Inhale, relax. Exhale, reach to the feet. See if you can feel the shoulder blade muscles working to do that. And maybe some stretch in your neck and upper trapezius here. Let's go 4. It's a small movement, maybe ½ an inch, maybe 2 inches. This is 2, and then 1. Okay. In a reasonable place, still reach to the feet, but now add on pressing the palms and elbows into the floor. Lift your hips into a bridge. Inhale, lowers one piece, exhale, lift. I always start with stability style first, getting all those muscles fired up to keep you stable before we're mobile. Good, using that back line of your legs as well. Good. 2 more. And then pause in this last one. Check your weight bearing on shoulder blades, not neck. And then press into your feet. You may need to walk your hands a little closer to feet as well. 2 choices here. You can be doing pelvic tilts or typewriters. I think typewriters stretch us out a bit more, but they can be triggering to L4 and L5. And so to get more of those good muscles going, I give you the pelvic tilt option. Pan D, if you want to take the ball away here, that might be smart so that you're not engaging the inner thighs. Last set here, and then lowers one piece. Okay, let's hug the knees to chest and do a check-in on the low back here. Does it feel like, oh, what a stretch? Or does it feel like, oh, I was using those muscles and it's a stretch? If it was the latter, we need to work on your form a bit. So bring those knees and feet together, start to circle very gently, stirring the femurs and the hip sockets. Still pulling that belly to spine, and reverse. All with the goal of lengthening your low back here, giving you some space between the lumbar vertebra, stretching out those muscles. Now open your knees up. You can keep the feet together, stir in opposite directions. Still make it a core exercise, lengthening the low back, and then reverse. All right, and then bring your legs into tabletop. If your low back is bothering you, your tabletop can be your knees closer into chest. Stretch your arms out to the sides of the room, but squeeze those shoulder blades down the spine. Make sure your shoulders aren't by ears. Take this into spine twist. When you go right, lift that left hip a smidge. Center. When you go left, lift that right hip a smidge. Good. How about we do just one more? Okay, working one more stability and ab engagement piece here. Open up the knees and feet to hip distance, and we'll take it into toe lowers or toe taps. So as you lower one leg at a time, you support with the low abs, keeping the low back still, and pull that leg up from the lower core. If you're struggling with the low back quietness or stability, definitely imprint your low back here. And we'll go 6, 5. So each side lasts one breath. Inhale down, exhale up. We've just got 2 and 1 left. Good. All right, hug knees to chest one more time. And then bring your feet back down to the floor, knees are bent. And you have 2 choices here. If your ball is pretty squishy, you can put it under your sacrum, under your tailbone. If it's not all that squishy, you can put it between the knees. Okay, from here, still reach hands to feet to get out of your neck, but we're gonna just take it into pelvic curls. If you're using that ball, you can really go into a nice supported low back arch and then tilt the pelvis towards nose. And it will pop your ribs up. I know you guys are such good students. This is one place it's okay. Let those ribs pop up. And if this low back arch causes any kind of pain, then don't go as big. Your job is always to find that pain-free range of motion. Okay, and then pause in a slight pelvic curl. If you're using the ball under your sacrum, you may want to adjust it a little bit. And from that slight pelvic curl, seesaw, right to left movements, version 1. One hip bone towards the ceiling, one towards the floor. And the ball is weird. Just think of it as a tool to give you more sensory or tactile cues. And if you don't like it, you can always take it out. It will make noise on you. And then pause. Okay, still in that slight pelvic curl, one hip bone towards the ribs, the other towards the foot, and switch, and switch. And I want you to feel like right and then left, you're turning on your core, really working on that coordination and maybe obliques. You may feel a nice low back or pelvic stretch as you do these. That's awesome. You've really built up your practice. I don't want you clenching in the low back to do this movement though. All right, and then pause, check you haven't brought shoulders to ears, throw out that neck tension, and then take it into your pelvic clock circles here. If you've only been doing the pelvic clocks lying on the floor, start to mix it up. Try some sitting, standing, try some on the ball, and reverse if you haven't. These are such a useful tool for back pain, undoing tech posture or driving. And they're versatile and offer different advantages in different planes of motion. All right, so go ahead and lift off the ball. If you are in my osteoporosis population, you're gonna stay with a couple more stability bridges. Non-osteoporosis, let's use our mobility style bridges. All of us will come up, peeling off, and then press into the feet a bit more, lower the spine to lengthen it. Specifically for mobility, bridges start with that pelvic curl, peel off slowly. Just like your calf raise, are you strong enough to pause and hold your body anywhere in space? And then press more into your feet and lower, lengthen out the spine like a strand of pearls. 2 more. Being able to pause at any point, you're also strengthening the small spinal muscles between the vertebrae. When you do those pauses, careful not to clench in the low back. All right, this is our last one. Feel free to stay here and do a few more if your body needs it. All right, next up, we're gonna do our upper ab curls. Osteoporosis, I'm gonna start with your variation. So everyone's knees will go into tabletop. You can always put your feet against a wall for more support or on a coffee table or a chair. Knit your fingers together. Exactly, Pam, exactly. Knit your fingers together. Put the inside of your hands against a thigh and activate your core against that pressure, and then switch sides. So pull belly to spine as you press into that leg, and careful not to press the belly up and out. It's in. Okay, non-osteoporosis, you're just doing your normal foundational, so important upper ab curl here. You can add on the second breath and hold this ab curl for longer. All right, let's go 8 and 7. Feel free to do the double breath instead or the osteo version. 5, 4. Pull belly button into spine. Don't press it up or out. All right, last one. And then we're gonna do a little bit more ab work by coming to sitting. It's a nice way to transition to getting on our rollers. Okay, so as you're ready, come to sitting. You're gonna sit in a bent knee shape like this. My feet are nice and flat on the floor. And then attempt to sit up on the sit bones, not on the tailbone. Okay, this is just your flat back tilt. Osteoporosis, very important to stay in a flat back shape, a hinge. So when you're back here, you're still on sit bones, not tailbone. Non-osteoporosis, if you want the variation of a C curve, you can rock on this tailbone and go into that C curve, okay? So it would be C curve back, pause, coming forward in that C curve shape. See, I'm still in my C curve here, and then sitting tall at the top. So a different flow. Okay, wherever you are, let's go 4, exhale forward, 3, use that core, not the arm muscles, that was 2, and your last one. Good. Okay, we're gonna get on our rollers. We'll do my favorite sequence of shoulder work. So attempt to lay yourself out that you have arm room above you and to the sides. I know that's not always possible in our San Francisco homes or if we're working out with friends. In those cases, you know, just make some bookmarks of like, okay, when I get to this place, I bend my elbows so I don't whack something or whack my hand. It is nice if we have room to stretch the legs out, but I would sacrifice that in favor of having arm room. Okay, I want your tailbone in the back of your head completely supported by your roller. So it's got to be a 36-inch roller, not an 18-inch. And get as symmetric as you can so your whole spine is supported by that roller. You probably have a gap under your low back. Let's play around with that. First, get your feet situated, that they're hip distance apart or a bit narrower, but your feet are straight here. Know that you can press into your palms and feet and lift your hips up in those bridges. And that's where your leg stability comes from. You have the power to lift up off the roller. So taking it into pelvic curls here, do you feel your low back press into that roller, and then when it comes off, press into that roller and comes off? These are all sensory pieces. Good. Okay, so imprint the spine or choose neutral. I usually do this series and imprinted. It's a little more core work. And then we're gonna do that lifting of the rib cage off the roller. Now bring the rib cage back down. Lift the rib cage off the roller, bring it back down. Put your hands on your front lower rib cage, where I say like close the bird cage doors. Another way of thinking or feeling it is the upper part of your six pack, and feel how that goes tight and slack like a stretch. And then when your spine comes back down on the roller, those muscles activate. And then pause with the thoracic spine on the roller. Feel how active your upper abs are, and you're gonna leave them that way. Let's go ahead and float our arms up to the ceiling. You should feel pretty stable here with all of your Pilates practice. If you're not, adjust, maybe press more into your feet, get your core fired up a bit more. Check that your hands are slightly towards your belly button and not over your nose. Changes the position of our shoulders nicely. All right, we're gonna do one arm at a time. So right goes up, left comes to meet it, right slides down, left slides down, left slides up, right meets it, left comes down, right. All right, so it's just alternating the leading side. Continue here, all my cues. So the arm bone drops back down into the shoulder socket and the shoulder blade slides down the spine. That's the magic of this exercise, is turning on the back line of your body to keep your arm bones nice and seated in the rotator cuff. And feeling what it's like when you reach out of that rotator cuff and then safely come back down, all the while working that thoracic stability, that the back of your rib cage is really stationary on the roller. All right. Then pause when both hands are in the down position. Take both sets of fingers up to the ceiling. And now when they return, squeeze that roller between the shoulder blades. Inhale as you lift them up. Exhale as you squeeze that roller. As you squeeze that roller, don't let the bottom ribs flare to the ceiling. You got to activate even more at the top of your six pack here. And keep breathing. So we're strengthening the posterior chain while keeping our thoracic stability. Good. It's a little bit like weight training, squeezing that roller. We've got 3, 2, and 1. Okay, rib cage arms. So start with your hands down by your thighs or your hips here. As we lift our arms overhead, don't let the thoracic spine leave the roller. Inhale up, exhale down. Inhale up, double that activation in the upper six pack. Exhale down. Feel your shoulder blades move, but that thoracic spine is nice and wedded to the roller. It's not stuck, you know, there's a little bit of a sliding movement, but there's no air time off the roller. All right, as you lift your arms overhead, I want you to feel the bottom of your shoulder blades power the movement. Try and get out of the neck. 2 more, exhales down, inhales up. 1 more. And then pause with your hands reaching towards the ceiling again. Bring the hands a little bit more towards the belly button versus the nose. And then we're gonna go into the nervy arm stretch. So flare your fingers to the sides of the room. It's quite a nice wrist bend. Open up until you feel that nervy stretch. It's tingly, usually in the wrists and forearms. Then bend wrists so fingers lead in. Flare fingers out, fingers lead in. Still staying nice and stable on this roller, not letting those bottom ribs flare up. Keep the bird cage doors closed as you open your hands out. We inhale out, exhale in. To bring your hands in, use those bottom of the shoulder blade muscles again. 1 more. Okay, next up is chicken wings, which is the one where we circle our arms and need to have a lot of space. I also think of it as a combination of rib cage arms and nervy arm stretch. So lift hands overhead, make sure ribs aren't flaring off the roller. Flare your hands, your fingers, start to circle and pause when it gets nervy. Bend the elbows, bring the hands down to hips, lift overhead, flare, start to circle, pause when it gets nervy, and bend elbows and come through. One thing that I've been working on with a lot of you is not letting your arms go too close to the ground. That might be too much stretch. It is for me, for sure. So I float my palms and elbows about 4 or 5 inches off the floor as I circle. 2 more. Hopefully you're feeling some good, healthy pec stretch throughout the movement or at different times in the movement. Good, and that's our last one. All right, another brain game exercise. Press into your feet, maybe rock on the roller a little bit, and then find your stability again. Hands start up by the ceiling, and we'll take it into helicopters. Send one hand overhead and one down by the hips. And then the arms half circle and switch. We're gonna go almost 8 times in each orientation. And part of the challenge in this exercise is just our brain being okay with our arms going in such different motions. And then not letting those ribs flare. Good. The next time the arms come through middle, they're gonna pause, or up by the ceiling, they pause. And then they go back to the direction they came from. That's how we switch. Don't think about it too hard. Just go through the motions. Again, working that ab engagement so the thoracic spine's really stable here. Opening up the pecs. Don't let the arms go too close to the floor. 2 more in this orientation. It's a good thing if your arms are getting kind of tired. Good. And then our balance work. I think this is always fun to check in week to week. Feel any improvements or any way your body may be a little off and you need to help it recover. Start with the right leg in the air. Both elbows pressed into your mat and your palms. So you feel your lats engage, okay? And then check that those low ribs are tied together. Those upper abs need to work. Right foot comes down, now left leg comes up. Go through all those same system checks. Arms pressing into the floor, gets the lats on, upper abs tying together the bottom ribs. All right, we're just gonna go into a slow marching here. And it's very important just to do one leg at a time. If both legs are in the air and low, it can be quite a bit of load on the low back, and I don't want that. So again, one foot needs to be stabilizing you at all times. Good. Make this core work, and then we're gonna pause with the right foot in the air. Press into your left heel and left palm. We're gonna start our diagonal work here. If you know that your other diagonal is much more stable, feel free to switch to it. Most of us are right-handed and this is our easier diagonal. Okay, again, press into left heel and right palm, and then lift up that left hand. Press that left palm to the inside of the right knee. Check you're still pressing the limbs on the floor into the floor. Okay, so you've got all 4 points feeling pressure. Now reach the airborne limbs away. Arm towards ear, foot and knee straighten out, and then back together here. All right, we're going 8. And it's the anterior oblique sling as that knee and hand come together. This is 6. So I'm feeling a sash of engagement from my left armpit to my right hip pocket. It's a sequence of how the obliques work together. This is 3. To really give that palm a good press into the knee, and that is 1. All right, right leg comes down. You can have a moment of all 4 limbs pressing into the mat, and then lift that left leg up. Just double check that your pelvis is square. It's in neutral or imprinted, whatever you chose. And then press the left palm and right heel into the floor, like you're gonna lift up in a bridge, but don't. Okay, now the right hand comes to the inside of that lifted knee, and then I'll reach them away. We've got 9, 8. Exhale as that palm and inner knee come together. Just a reminder, it's pressing to the inside of the knee, not the top. 4, 3, 2, last one. All right, I'm leaving this left knee in the air, pressing both palms back into the floor, and bring the right knee in the air. Stay in that imprinted spine here. Okay, start with pressing elbows and palms into the mat. You're gonna lift up the arm that's associated with your easier diagonal. So for most of us, that's the left arm. Okay, and you might just be lifting the elbow. You may be able to bring that left palm to right knee. Try and do it without slumping over into the right stabilizing hand. And then just play around with your humble pie here. Maybe being able to move the right leg and the left palm. But this is meant to be fun and not, silly. You're supposed to have a lot of core work here, but just don't take yourself and your foibles seriously. Woo. And if you have a big bobble like I just did, take the time to reset. Don't hang on to it and try and keep doing the motion. Okay, when you're ready, both palms come back down to the floor. Now let's challenge our tougher diagonal. For most of us, that's lifting the left arm, lifting the right arm and manipulating the left leg. Good. Again, find your humble pie. Don't take this too seriously, but make it core work. And last one. Good. Bring the right foot down, make it stabilize you, and now bring the left foot down. Again, trying to avoid moving both legs in the low back area at the same time. So I'm gonna come off the roller and then put the roller underneath my cervical spine and skull connection. So where the neck ends and goes into the back of your head. And this is a nice way to use the roller to stretch out the neck and do some fascia work. Pay attention to how tight it might be back there, and maybe today's not a great day to put any pressure in, or maybe today is a great day for that and you can tolerate the pressure. So that area right above our hairline, past where our neck's connected, is called the occipital nerve. And then there's a bump further up our hairline, and that's called the occipital ridge. I want you to be rolling out the occipital nerve here. Noticing if you feel like you have any fluid or swelling back there, which can happen with neck tension and migraine and just headaches. Okay, so we've rolled out back and forth. Now we're gonna stretch. So hold on to your roller, be in your chin nod, and slowly send that roller out. When it's just about to go over the occipital ridge, take one hand, hold the weight of your head. Try not to use your neck. And then bring that roller in with your other hand. Lay your head back down on the roller. Bring chin a little bit to chest. Use your chin nod as you press that roller away. Most important, use your hands to hold the weight of your head as you bring that roller back in. Okay, let's go 4 more times. Don't forget to breathe. Thinking of stretching and lengthening the neck here. We've got 2 more. Good. Okay, from here, let's go ahead and grab our long TheraBands. Position yourself underneath that band if it's tethered to a doorknob or some other kind of tether point contraption. Okay, let's start with both feet in the band. Some of you will be using a tighter band to support your low back. So now that's the time to add this in. You could also have your big yoga ball nearby and make sure that your feet never go lower than the yoga ball. Remember, we stay pretty high up towards the ceiling when we're in these TheraBands versus feet and straps on the reformer. Start with heels together, toes apart, doing your high frogs, activating that core, especially as you press out. And then as you bend your knees in, you're keeping your pelvis stable, that what we call lumbopelvic region. And that's so much of what feet and straps is testing and strengthening you, that your pelvis doesn't move around, your low back doesn't move around. Okay, you're gonna widen your feet here, like we do in feet and straps. If the TheraBand is just between your feet, it's not tethered, you're gonna have quite a few feet of band between the legs here. And just hold this stretch here. Should be a reasonable inner thigh stretch. If you're so mobile this isn't doing anything for you, and only those folks, you're gonna bend and straighten here. Bend the knees and straighten. Again, don't let that pelvis rock. Don't let the tailbone come off the mat. Okay, and then one more deep breath here. The feet will come a little closer together, about shoulder distance, and then take this into happy baby. So for some of us, that's holding behind the calves. Some of us will actually hold our feet here. The band is less important, but it can be a helpful tool if you need to hold on to it. In terms of line of pull, try and bring any band tension into the shoulder girdle, not the neck. Last breath here, last rock left and right. Good. And then the left foot comes out of the band. Get that right foot nice and comfy. I do think it's nice for this one-legged work when you're not tethered to crisscross the band. Gets the foot really secure. It almost feels like it's being hugged. Okay, anchor into that left heel, stabilize in your core and start your circles here. And then spiral out to a bigger circle. Find a good place to pause and reverse. All parts of the circle should feel pretty yummy. No hip clicking or hip impingement. If you do, talk with me about it. And also maybe go in a smaller circle where you're inviting the femur to be loose in the hip socket, not jammed in there. All right, then let's pause with this right foot in our IT band stretch. So critical to keep that right hip bone still on the mat, nice and grounded, and then the femur stretches out from there. If you have an uncomplicated low back, you can point and flex. If you're really flexible, it might be deceiving that you can't find the stretch. I recommend lowering the foot well below the belly button here as you reach, and a lot of times you're escaping it by letting that right hip off the floor. All right, one last big breath here. And then bring this right foot up towards the ceiling again. We're gonna go into figure 4 to stretch out the left glute. So with tailbone still on the mat, take your left ankle in front of your right knee. If you're not getting enough stretch wrapping around your left backside, you bend the right knee into tabletop. Be a little perfectionistic here for me. Check that that right ankle, knee, and hip bone are all lined up, that you don't have your knee twisted or something. If you need more stretch still, gradually bring the right knee towards your nose and press away on the left knee. This is often also called the piriformis stretch. So if you have sciatica, this can be your best friend. Let's do a double inhale, exhale breath here. Good, and then slowly unpretzel here. We're gonna swap which foot's in the band. So left foot goes in, right leg comes out. Right leg can anchor into the floor here. Particularly the heel will anchor, okay? And then activate all that core strength again. Check your line of pull in your shoulders. Elbows press into the mat. Try and get out of the neck by reaching the elbows towards your hips. And then start your small circles if you haven't, and spiral out to the bigger circle, not sacrificing any torso stability here. Those bottom ribs are still held together by upper abs. I think the mat is such a nice tool for breathing. You want to feel your inhales are so big, the back of your ribs press into the mat. All right, find a place to pause and reverse. And then this will be your last circle. Taking the right foot, left foot over to the right side of the room. Sorry about that, guys. Again, left foot over to the right side of the room, keeping that left side of your hips on the floor. And then that IT band is the lateral side of the thigh, the outside. If you have an uncomplicated low back, you can point and flex here. All right, 2 long inhales into the left side of your ribs here. One more. Good, and then slowly take this into your figure 4, where the right ankle comes in front of the left knee. Do try and keep that tailbone on the mat. You want to feel the stretch wrapping around your right backside here. Most of us need more stretch, so you'll bend that left knee. Slowly scoot it into nose without letting the tailbone come up, and maybe pressing away on the right knee. Just for joint safety, I'd like you to check that your left hip bone creates a line that your knee meets up on, and the same with your ankle. Sometimes I see people twisting at the knee to find this stretch, and I'm like, no. All right, a double inhale, exhale breath here. After that second exhale, you can bring your feet out of the straps, and then we'll come to sitting and grab our rollers. And we're gonna go to quadruped here. So I'm not gonna use my roller immediately, but it's nearby for me to access. Now all this quadruped work you could do standing and putting your hands on a chair. Start with your sternum drops. Also think of these as a shoulder blade strengthener. Squeezing shoulder blades together will drop down the ribs. And then pressing into the mat will press the shoulder blades apart. Good. All right, stay here if you have osteoporosis. Non-osteoporosis, you can take this into cat. spinal flexion. In cow, slight bit of extension here. Inhales into cat, exhales into cow. And then this will be the last one. So after cow, find your neutral spine. Usually your ears are higher towards the ceiling than you might imagine. That's often what I have to cue everyone. And then a slight low back curve, slight cervical spine curve as well. Start with the right ankle and do your tail wags. About 4 left rights on this first foot, and then 4 left rights on your left foot. Use your obliques as well as stretch them, and really try and create some nice lateral spine stretch for yourself here. It's all ab work. Good. And that's about 4 on each side. Now the roller comes in. I'm putting it lengthwise on my left side. My left palm will be weight bearing. And then we'll slide the roller out and stretch out that right shoulder blade. If you squeeze the shoulder blades down the spine, you'll get a more intense stretch. And I want some thoracic rotation here. So you rotate into the stretch, again, feeling it in the bottom right side. You can make this active, going in and out, or you can hold it. If you hold it, I want you to do my normal 30 seconds. Take a really big inhale into that right side of your lungs. One more. All right, nicely done. Let's do the other side. So if the roller is on your right side, your right palm stabilizes you, you bend into it, and then you reach that left arm underneath. And on that roller, try and draw big inhales into the left side of your lungs. One more time. Good. Okay, and then we're gonna take the roller way out in front of us and lie down on our stomachs. This is one you may recognize and go, oh wait, that's not great for my shoulders. It's too much of an ask. In your case, you'll do the same exercise with arms overhead while lying on your stomach, but don't use the roller. Those of us using the roller, the thumbs are up, and then right below the wrist, I'm on that roller. And it's basically a shoulder blade shrug here, reaching way overhead, sliding that roller out, then sliding those shoulder blades down. My goal here, in addition to shoulder stretch, is to activate those good muscles at the bottom of your shoulder girdle here instead of relying on your upper trapezius. Pull that belly to spine as you exhale and bring that roller towards you. Non-roller version, it's just the palms sliding on the floor, doing that same shoulder blade squeeze. Good. Okay, and then hands come off the roller. Let's all take this into the OsteoSafe Swan. So palms and elbows connect into the floor. And elbows are bent to the sides of your shoulders, palms are just in front of the shoulders. On your exhales, press into the mat, lift your chest. Inhale down, exhale up, pull belly to spine. I love how the elbow pressing gets us into the shoulder blades. Use that tool. Again, press those elbows into the mat as you lift the chest. Gets us strong for swimming. 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, while we're lying here, we're gonna grab the back of our foot and stretch out the quads. If this just is not possible with your knee flexion, you can just hold that as close in as your knees allow. I do want to caution you not to twist your spine, not to use your low back here. If you need more stretch or want this to be more hip flexory, lift the knee off of the floor and press the hip bone into the floor. Might shock you how much of a stretch that is at first. You got to use the core to keep the low back out of this. Good. And then we're going to switch sides here. Sometimes when a person can't quite hold on to the ankle, what you can do is grab a yoga rope or a TheraBand and then wrap that around your foot and hold on to the band. I like to set that up for someone because getting into it by yourself, you can really twist your back. So anyways, those are my precautions. If you want that more stretch, remember you lift the knee and press the hip bone into the mat. A double inhale, exhale breath here. Good. Okay, let's come to our Z sit. One last piece with the roller, and then we'll do our hip flexor stretches. We might go over a minute or two, so we'll see where time brings us here. The roller is on the opposite side of your feet. Remember, if your knees are not happy here, just adjust, straighten one or both legs. And my hand is just rolling on that roller. I go out on the forearm. Try and take a nice big inhale in this moment into that top side of your ribs. And then on the roller, I like just to do the in and out piece 4 times. And then I'll pause on that 4th one. Widen my bottom arm and rotate. Make sure your low back is happy here. And use a lot of stomach muscles to come in. Pam K, just be careful not to over spinal flexion here. Just be a little careful. All right, last one in rotation. Scoot that bottom arm forward. Come back to that lateral plane. And then we'll switch the way our legs are Z-sitting. Again, you can straighten one or both knees. And then working this lateral plane in and out 4 times. Skipping the sit tall and counter stretch piece here because I want to get us on to hip flexors in a second. After you've done 4 in this lateral plane, you'll pause and then rotate so you're looking at the floor and make sure your your low back is okay here. You can widen the arms while you're here. As you come in, really hollow that belly button into spine. Good. Last one, coming on out. Okay, so for your hip flexor stretch, we go to kneeling. You can do a standing variation. I'll demo that in a second. Just for cueing, I've put my right foot forward, my left knee back. You can also pad up that left knee to get it comfortable, especially like arthritis and stuff. Lift up that left arm, tilt the pelvis under before you press forward. Maintain that pelvic tilt if you need that extra stretch, okay? So this is the kneeling variation. If you did the standing variation, note that the left arm is still lifted and it can reach over to the right side. But your feet will be straight at first and then bend that left, not bend, pivot that left heel in. And that's your standing variation. Okay, so spending a little more time on the hip flexors here. Go ahead and side bend, reaching right if you're not already. Nice big inhale here. And then rotate rib cage so you're now looking towards the right side of your room. If the balance is too challenging, bring your hands down. Otherwise, keep the left arm up, okay? One more inhale, exhale here. And then take the rotation and side bend away. Let your arms drop. I'm gonna change angles so you guys can see me, but it's still my right foot forward. Right hand now goes to the inside of the right knee. And then I twist my torso to look away. So my torso is going left. And this should be an inner thigh stretch here on the right. Activate the glutes for 2 reasons. It'll stabilize you, but it'll also bring that stretch a little deeper. Good. And then core's always on, or else I'll fall. What does my friend say? Over tea kettle, ass over tea kettle or something. Good. Okay, bring that torso back to straight forward. Straighten out your front leg, your right leg. Toes come off the floor towards nose. And then straight behind the knee. Calf and hamstring stretch. You can wiggle your femur left and right here. Kind of change things up a little bit. Good. And then we're going to switch it up. So bring your left foot forward, get that right knee back behind you and comfortable. Tilt the pelvis under as you press into that front leg and lift up the right arm. Hip flexor stretch on your right side now. Reggie, if you wanted some extra neck stretch, you could do those initial neck side bends that we did in the first couple minutes of class. And then standing, it would be the same variation, guys, that we did on the other side. All right, let's side bend slightly, reaching right arm to the left side of the room. Check your head hasn't fallen forward. You want to keep up the good posture, supporting the weight of the head over the vertebrae. Okay, when you're ready, go ahead and twist so you're looking to the left side of your room. Activate the glutes if you need some stability here. It'll also deepen the stretch. Last big breath into the left side of your body. And then taking the side bend twist out of the equation, looking forward with your arms down. Now twist the torso only so you're looking right, pressing the left arm into the inside of the left thigh, feeling that inner thigh stretch on the left side. All right, 2 more long breaths here. And 1 more. And then look forward. No twist in the torso, straighten out that front leg and toes off the floor. So you're feeling that left calf and hamstring stretch. Good. Let's do a double inhale, exhale breath here. All right. Those of you that want to challenge how strength and life is going, you're going to bend that front knee into this lunge position. So now it's the left foot on the floor. I'm going to stand up from here. If you know it's smarter to use your other side and switch your knees and feet, that's fine. But if you tuck your toes under, can you come up? It's another fit, not frail test. You got it, Reggie. There you go, Pam. All right, guys. Well, way to start out your Sundays. Thank you for joining me. You know, as always, if you golf or do some special activity, it's great to let me know on Sundays. Hey there, Keith. And I can always integrate some stretches in. But we're back to our normal schedule this week. You know, I have 2 me classes tomorrow and 2 JCC classes. No, I have 1 me class and 2 GCC classes. But anyways, so that's life. Let me know if you guys need anything. Hope you have fantastic Sundays. Faith, I hope you sell a lot at the Irving Street Fair. Always the merchant. So, okay, guys, take care.